to today's panel, Governing American Education, the Elusive Public and Public Education. For those of you who are following this at home, or those of you in this room who like to tweet, the hashtag for this panel will be GovernEd. One word, GovernEd. And I will say that when we come to the question period, the reason why I have my trusty iPad up here is that if we get some questions from our live stream audience, as well as from our in-house audience, I will relay them along. So I also want to tell you before I go into introducing today's panel that this is a series that we run basically along the lines of an academic school year. And so we have one more of the series, which will be on Wednesday, June 11th. And it will be on educational justice and the integration of American schools. And we have a really, I think, exciting lineup to discuss this topic. It will include Lonnie Guinier, Ernie Green, who was one of the Little Rock Nine, John Britton, who is a very important force in the legal community around school integration cases, Rick Collenberg, who's, in addition to being on the board of the Schenker Institute, has become a steadfast voice on the importance of economic as well as racial integration of schools, and Mike Petrilli from the Fordham Foundation. What I'm going to do is introduce all of our speakers at once in the order in which they're going to speak. They're basically going to speak starting on my near left with Jeff and going all the way to my far left with Deborah. To which I attribute no metaphorical significance. And so I will introduce them all now. And because I was never a high school assistant principal, I won't read everything we gave you in your packet on their biographies. They all are very distinguished people, and you could read it in some details. But let me just give you a few words about each of them. So Jeff Hennig is a professor of political science and education at Teachers College and a professor of political science at Columbia University. Jeff has a long list of publications on the intersection of politics and education and the governance of education. Some of the more recent and more interesting pieces were Spin Cycle, how research is used in policy debates, and because it involved charter schools, we could probably say used and misused in policy debates. And his most recent book, and I think he might reference some of this today, The End of Exceptionalism in American Education. We will then go to Zakia Ansari, who's the advocacy director of the Alliance for Quality Education in New York. She was one of the few parent advocates that were appointed to Mayor Bill de Blasio's transition committee. And that is because she has really a long history of parent advocacy and community advocacy around New York City public schools. And in my previous life, I enjoyed having the opportunity to work with her on many occasions. We will then go to Andy Smarek, who's a partner in Bellwether Educational Partners, and he's focuses there on policy and thought leadership. He is the author of The Urban School System of the Future, which lays out, I think, some of his ideas with respect to our topic today. And he served as a Deputy Commissioner of Education in New Jersey and as a Deputy Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of Education. And we will finish with my good friend, who I have known for many years, probably more than anyone else on this panel, Deborah Meyer. Deborah, I think, is perhaps best known for her work with the Central Park East schools and the Mission Hill School. And she is now a senior scholar at the education school at NYU in New York City. She's the author of The Power of Their Ideas and In Schools We Trust, 2 books which touch upon today's topic. And she was the first educator ever to receive a MacArthur Foundation grant. So we will now begin with Jeff.